Thrown away. The wind in the junkyard howled low and constant, a whistle through rusted hulls and shattered solar panels. Cal trudged across a mountain of scrap, boots clanking on twisted steel, his sensor glove blinking green. Another day, another hunt for copper, maybe a working capacitor if luck felt generous. "Signal's faint," said Jax, his wrist-mounted AI, its voice dry and unimpressed. "Might be just a rotting battery." "Still reads organic," Cal muttered, narrowing his eyes behind grime-streaked goggles. "That's not a battery." He adjusted course. The signal wasn't far, tucked under layers of e-waste and melted ship ribs. With a grunt, he shoved aside a slab of scorched metal, revealing the charred husk of what looked like an escape pod. The hull bore scorch marks and foreign etchings, a language he didn't recognize. The emergency beacon was cracked and flickering weakly. A soft thump inside made him freeze. "Something's alive in there," he whispered. A heartbeat later, he pried open the pod's emergency hatch. Inside, two pairs of glowing eyes blinked at him, one small, one weary and wide. The larger form shifted, shielding the smaller with spindly arms. The figures were alien, insectoid but soft-eyed, with fine, shimmering carapace layers that had dulled with dust and dehydration. The adult, likely the mother, clicked low in her throat, a warning or maybe a plea. Cal held up his hands. "Easy. Not here to hurt you." The smaller one, the child, whimpered and clutched the mother's chest. Their bodies trembled from cold and exhaustion. The pod had no power, no heat, no food. Just a fading life support unit ticking toward failure. Jax buzzed. Vitals critical. Malnourished. Probably days since they crashed. Cal reached slowly into his satchel and pulled out a thermal blanket and a ration pack. He knelt at the edge of the pod and offered both. The mother hesitated, but then the scent of nutrients must have cut through her fear. She gently took the packet, peeled it with practiced claws, and passed the first bite to the child. Cal noticed then, her arms had burn marks, some still raw. She'd shielded her daughter during whatever hell they'd escaped. "Let's get you out of here," Cal said, softer now. "This pod's done." The mother blinked at him, then looked at her daughter, who had already fallen asleep mid-chew. After a long moment, she nodded. Cal didn't carry stretchers anymore, but he rigged a makeshift one from scrap and canvas. The mother cradled the child in her lap as Cal hauled them through the maze of wreckage back to his shack, his home, on the edge of the yard. It wasn't much. Corrugated walls, a half-rebuilt roof, patched-up floor panels over sand and wire. But it was warm. It had power. Water. A solar-still purifier. The closest thing to shelter for clicks. Cal set them down on a sleeping mat and turned up the heat. Jax rerouted emergency power to an old medbay panel, calibrated to non-human biochemistry. The readings were stable, but barely. "Keep them hydrated," Cal told Jax. "Translate if they wake." "Of course," the AI replied dryly. "I live to serve." Hours passed. The mother didn't sleep, only watched Cal with cautious, calculating eyes while the child dozed fitfully. Finally, she spoke. Clicks, hums, and guttural tones filtered into words through Jax's translation. "You are not soldier." "No," Cal said. "Not anymore." She looked at the makeshift walls, the powered heater, the small rack of tools and salvage tech. "This is yours." "Yeah." "Why help?" she asked, not suspicious, just tired. Cal hesitated. The silence between them was heavy. "Because someone should have helped my family once. But no one did." The mother looked down at her daughter. Her lower arms curled gently around the girl's sleeping form. "Then, you understand," she said softly. Cal nodded. "Yeah, I think I do." He stood, stretching sore muscles. "You're safe now. Rest. Tomorrow I'll fix a real translator. And we'll figure this out." The mother gave a slow blink of gratitude, an alien gesture, but unmistakably kind. As Cal dimmed the lights and stepped outside, the night wind shifted. For the first time in years, the junkyard didn't feel quite so empty. Bolts and bread. By morning, the sky above the junkyard burned gold with twin suns. Heat rippled off the scrap piles, but inside Cal's makeshift shelter, the air was cool. The alien mother, now wrapped in a clean thermal blanket, sat propped against the wall while the child slept curled beside her. Cal crouched by his workbench, tuning an old voice modulator with trembling hands. He hadn't slept, not really. There was too much to do. Jax, start the frequency test again. Already did, the AI said. 5 times. The patch should now translate in real time, assuming her dialect hasn't drifted into the poetic nonsense quadrant. Cal grunted and walked over with the device. This'll help us talk properly. Mind if I try it? The mother tilted her head. Her insectoid antennae twitched slightly, wariness, but not refusal. She allowed him to attach the translator near her throat. After a few moments, the device crackled. Then, "You speak clearer now." Cal smiled faintly. Progress. The woman's name, he learned, was Ilna. Her daughter was Kiri. They were survivors from a refugee transport that had been ambushed near the system's edge. Ilna had managed to jettison their pod, but something, or someone, had rerouted it into a planetary junk field, a convenient grave. Deliberate? Cal asked, brows low. Ilna hesitated. I think, yes. Someone wanted no survivors. Kiri stirred and let out a soft trill. Ilna reached down and ran a hand along the child's fine crest. Cal noticed the movement. Protective. Gentle. She needed food. Proper food. The kind alien bodies could digest. Cal scavenged through his supplies and retrieved a half-functional replicator unit he'd pulled from a wrecked merchant hauler months ago. It was broken, but not beyond repair. With Jax patching in, and Ilna surprisingly nimble with thin, precise fingers, they spent the afternoon piecing it together. You're good with tools, Cal said, soldering a relay. My nest maintained mining machines, Ilna replied through the translator. Before the war. Kiri, now awake, giggled as a robotic limb from Jax's drone arm handed her a nutbolt toy. She sat cross-legged on the floor, trying to disassemble it. Smart one, huh? Cal said. She learns fast, Ilna said, smiling softly. Always asking questions. Never still. Cal knew the type. He remembered a little girl just like that, his niece, back before the colony fell. He shook the memory loose and focused. Hours passed. The replicator hummed to life with a low buzz. Cal keyed in a basic nutritional profile based on Ilna's biology readings and stepped back. With a shimmer of blue light, a steaming bowl of gelatinous, iridescent paste appeared. Ilna blinked in astonishment. Close to your kind of food. She sniffed it, then tasted. Her shoulders eased. It is like root bread from home. Kiri reached up eagerly. Cal brought down another bowl and loaded it. For the first time, both mother and daughter ate without shaking. Later, Cal added more insulation to the walls, replaced his single cot with 2 sleeping pallets, and even fixed up a water recycler Ilna could operate. With help, the junkyard hut was transforming, slowly but surely, into something more livable. Not just for one man. For a family. That night, Cal sat near the door, sipping recycled coffee, eyes scanning the scrap horizon. Ilna came to stand beside him, watching the red-orange moons rise. You fixed all this alone? She asked. Bit by bit. And now, for us. Cal didn't answer at first. Then he said, you were left to die in a pile of garbage. That's not something I can walk away from. Ilna looked at him, expression unreadable. You lost someone, she said quietly. That's why you stay here. Cal's jaw clenched. Yeah. They stood in silence for a while, the junkyard alive with quiet groans of metal cooling in the night. Then, from behind them, Kiri's voice piped up. Can I fix machines too? Ilna looked at Cal. She wants to learn. Cal cracked the first real smile he'd managed in years. Then I'd better find her some tools. Inside the shelter, the lights glowed a little warmer. Not just scavenged bulbs anymore, but lanterns of safety. The junkyard hadn't changed. But for the first time, Cal had company. And he was starting to believe maybe, just maybe, it could be a home. Visitors and vultures. Cal heard the incoming skiff long before he saw it, just a low, metallic thrum riding the breeze. He looked up from the solar regulator he was repairing and frowned. Nobody came out this far unless they were desperate or dangerous. Jax's voice crackled through his calm, Small crewed vessel. 2, maybe 3 passengers. No ID tags broadcasting. Not standard salvage guild. Cal stood, wiping grease on his sleeve. Lock down the shack. Get Ilna and Kiri inside. He didn't need to tell them twice. Ilna grabbed Kiri, who had been helping sort power cells, and ushered her into the shelter. Kiri didn't argue, but she looked back with worried eyes as the door sealed. Cal watched the ship land. Fast, arrogant. The kind of fast that said, "We're not afraid of anyone out here." 3 figures disembarked. All human. Rough gear. Private-grade weapons. One of them, tall, with a burn-scarred cheek and mismatched cybernetic eyes, grinned when he saw Cal. "Well, well. You're the ghost they talk about, huh?" the man said. "Thought this junkyard was deserted." Cal didn't move. "It was. Until you showed up." The man chuckled. "Name's Trask. This here's my crew. We heard rumors someone found some exotic salvage. Alive salvage." Behind Trask, a second man was already scanning the area with a portable biosign tracker. The third lingered near the skiff, hand on his sidearm. Cal's voice went flat. "You got no business here. Whatever you heard, it's wrong." Trask stepped closer, his boots crunching metal underfoot. "Come on, old man. You really want to keep alien tech for yourself? You could have called it in, claimed bounty, made creds. But no, you're playing house." He leaned in. "You know how much a healthy Xeno fetches on the outer systems?" Cal's fist clenched at his side. "Leave. Now." Trask smirked. "Or what? You'll throw a wrench at us." Before Cal could respond, Jax's voice whispered in his earpiece. "They're trying to triangulate the shelter's location. I've disabled their scanner, but we don't have long." Cal took a step back, calm as a storm building. "All right. You want something? You'll get it." He turned and walked toward his workbench, slowly, deliberately. Trask followed, unaware of the silent signals Cal had just sent via hand gestures to Ilna inside the shack. He grabbed a battered control box from the bench, twisted the dial, and hit a button. From beneath a pile of scrap, a jerry-rigged EMP emitter rose like a sentinel. It whined, pulsed, and detonated a localized burst of blue static. The bioscanner exploded in the second man's hands. Trask's cyber eye fizzled. The skiff's engines went dark. Trask screamed and stumbled. "You bastard!" Cal moved. Swift, practiced. He grabbed a stun baton from beneath the bench and cracked the nearest attacker in the ribs. The man dropped like a sack of bolts. The third tried to draw his weapon, but the shelter door slammed open and Ilna emerged, mask down, a salvaged plasma cutter in hand, its blade glowing white-hot. "Step away," she said, voice cold and clear. Trask froze. Even half-blind, he recognized a threat. The third man hesitated too long, and from behind a pile of scrap, Kiri popped up and hurled a loose coil of wire at his legs. He tripped, hit the ground hard. Jax's drone zipped through the air and zapped him for good measure. Trask wheezed on the ground, coughing. "You're making a mistake. These things ain't even people." Cal stood over him, eyes like steel. "Funny. That's exactly what people like you said about us in the old wars." He picked up Trask's dropped sidearm and flung it deep into the junkyard. "Get out. Leave your ship. Walk." "You're crazy," Trask spat. "Maybe," Cal replied. "But at least I'm not a slaver." Under escort from Jax's buzzing drone, the three staggered off into the dunes, weaponless, humiliated. As silence settled again, Cal turned to Ilna and Kiri. Kiri ran to him and hugged his leg tight. "You okay, kid?" he asked softly. She nodded. "We fought them. Like the stories." Ilna, still tense, lowered her cutter. "They'll come back." "I know," Cal said. "So we'll be ready. Together." He looked around at the scarred junk piles, the broken skiff, the burned patches from the EMP. Then at his shelter, damaged, but still standing. Still a home. For now. A home, rebuilt. The junkyard was quiet again. Where scorched ground and bent metal told stories of the fight days before, new work had already begun. Cal stood at the edge of the shelter, welding a brace into place. His shirt was streaked with oil and dust, and sweat dripped from his brow, but there was a calm in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Ilna stood nearby, fitting modular panels into a wall extension. She moved with purpose now, stronger every day, her posture more upright. No longer a refugee in hiding. She was part of the rebuild. Inside, Kiri sat cross-legged on the floor beside Jax's drone, sorting small bolts and circuit chips by size. She wore a pair of modified goggles too big for her face but perfect for her grin. "You labeled the capacitor bin boom bits," Jax remarked through the speaker. "That is not regulation terminology." "It's funny," Kiri said, giggling. Cal chuckled under his breath. "I don't disagree." The skiff left behind by Trask's crew had been stripped for parts, its remaining fuel salvaged. It now served as a greenhouse frame, housing hardy alien seedlings Kiri and Ilna brought back from a wrecked biopod. They'd turned that scorched battle spot into soil, layered with nutrient gel and broken pipe mulch. Life in the most unlikely place. Later that afternoon, Cal climbed onto the rooftop solar array to adjust the angle. The sun was sharp above, but the breeze was kind. From up here, the junkyard looked different than it used to. It still stretched endless and broken, but patches of cleared ground, smoothed walkways, and growing plants carved into it like veins of purpose. Ilna joined him, her eyes scanning the horizon. "No sign of them," she said. "Trask and his kind. They won't risk coming back." "Not after that," Cal said. "But others will." Ilna looked at him, antennae twitching slightly. "And what will we do?" "We help who we can," he said. "If they're honest. If they're like you." Ilna nodded slowly. "Then, this place must be more than a shelter." Cal looked around. The shelter had grown, now 3 rooms, with an open central space where Kiri painted old hull plates with colorful patterns. There was laughter here now. A hum of life. "Yeah," he said. "A home." The first visitor arrived 2 weeks later. An old shuttle, limping through the atmosphere, landed just past the ridge with a whine and a sputter. Cal approached with caution but not fear. A family stepped out, 2 adults and a child, their faces gaunt but hopeful. No weapons, just tired eyes and a broken ship. They had heard, they said, through old merchant relays, a human out on New Argus who helped a mother and child survive. "Is it true?" the woman asked. "Will you turn us away?" Cal didn't hesitate. "No. But be ready to work." The man bowed. "We will." More followed. A week later, a pair of synthetic farmers from a failed terraforming project. Then a one-armed ex-soldier with a quiet voice and a data core full of repair schematics. They brought what they had. They built, traded, taught. Each new arrival shaped the place. Cal extended the solar grid. Ilna and the ex-soldier designed reinforced walls. Kiri made signs in 3 languages and stuck them on tool crates. Even Jax, once bitter and sarcastic, softened, adding jokes to translation routines and naming the new communal kitchen the fuel pit. One evening, as Cal looked over the junkyard, now something between a village and a dream, he found Kiri sitting on the greenhouse skiff, legs swinging. She looked up. "Will we stay here forever?" Cal sat beside her. "As long as we need to. As long as people need this place." "Is it still junk?" she asked. He paused. "Not anymore. It's parts. Waiting to become something better." She leaned against him. "I'm glad you found us." He put a hand on her shoulder. "No, Kiri. I'm glad you found me." That night, the shelter lights glowed brighter than ever. Lanterns flickered through sheets of old plex, illuminating smiling faces and clinking cups. Music, real music, played through a salvaged speaker. The stars above were sharp and endless. In the middle of the yard, Cal stood quietly with Ilna and Kiri, watching others eat, laugh, and rest. "What do we call this place?" someone asked. Cal glanced at the others, then smiled. "Home."